Hello and welcome. I'm Anthony Snyder, part of the Kirkpatrick series class, and so we're doing a little video about inequality or equality among men and women in the workplace. I believe there's still an issue in 2017 among equality in the workplace among men and women. I would also argue that it's not across the board. Not every company in the country has this issue. A lot of companies have equality. One of the things I would say is, women should also have the ability, same as men, everybody should be equal, to have the ability to have the same equal opportunities in tasks, job mobilities, and moving up the ladder. If they have the skills and talents to perform, the company should take advantage of that. The bottom line is, businesses are out to make money, and they don't want to shouldn't be pigeonhole themselves into only looking at their men in their workforce. I want to back up to 2013. We live in Fort Collins, Colorado now. We used to live in Worcester, Ohio, and we both worked at the same company, CACI. And in 2013, Worcester was a very small town, about 13,000 people, and we're a government contractor, and government sequestration was going on at the time, so they cut loose our office, and so only a few of us were fortunate enough to move with the company if we wanted. But the thing that was really cool about that Worcester office, it was predominantly led by women. There were more women in leadership positions in that office than men. And we were very successful. That office was very successful. The closure had nothing to do with the leadership. It was literally came down to the government contracts. Justin McCarthy had written "Gender Gap in Job Outlook Widest in America" in 2014. And he was talking about 2013, and he was in that document, he was talking about women looking for jobs at that time were more pessimistic than men. And again, all our friends were let go. There's 150 people kind of into the pool of a small town, and a lot of them stayed because that's where they grew up. So I never saw an issue where my women friends were more pessimistic than my male friends at the time. So I don't really know how to answer that, really. But I do want to talk about us moving to Fort Collins here. So we transferred to the CACI office here in town, where I still currently work. And the atmosphere and the attitudes of the Fort Collins office was a lot different.
Hi, I'm Kristen. I'm Anthony's wife. I was one of the people that got relocation offered from Worcester to Colorado when they shut our office down, and it was just our management level folks that were offered that relocation. When I accepted it and came out to Fort Collins, I did that knowing that there were already 4 people in the same role that I was in, which was like a project manager, and all of them were men. And my boss came out also, and when he and I were pulled out here, he was dropped down a level, and then I was also, although we both kept our current salaries and current titles, but we were treated like a different level. So I went to doing an assistant manager type role versus project manager. And when our new boss at this new office started talking about the need for maybe more project managers and promoting people up into it, I'd go, hey, don't forget about me. You're already paying me all this stuff, but you're not taking advantage of all my skill sets, which he never took a chance to get to know me better and my background better. So he had no clue that prior to my tenure with CACI, I had also run an entire GIS department, which is what we do, GIS, at a consulting firm. It wasn't a very big department, and sometimes it was just me, but I was running all the projects and had all this background that he was completely unaware of because he never even bothered to ask. And I wasn't going to waste his time by going up and saying, hey, you want to know more about me? So after hearing him say that, oh yeah, there's some other people that I've known for a long time that are really, really good at their jobs, and I think they'd be good in this project management role, and these were all men, that I started to get really frustrated. At first, I didn't want to think that it could be because I was female, but deep down I had this gut feeling. And it wasn't until I started hearing from other women who brought it up to me themselves that they felt the same sort of discrimination from the same manager that I was feeling, that I realized my feelings weren't all that off base. And that ultimately led me to leave the company. And when I did, not only did I moved out of management role, but I got like a 7 to 10% pay increase by doing that. So ultimately, I think women are going to leave those scenarios. We're smarter than some of these guys think we are, and we're not going to put up with stuff that we think's unfair.
And there was other women in our office at CACI in Fort Collins here. Same issue. They got to a level where they wanted to continue with their skills and their experiences to move to the next level, and they just, it was a good guys club, and that was as far as they went. So many of them have left. The Pew Research Center had wrote an article talking about the leadership of women and how women seem to have to work harder to attain the same position men are applying for. And I think Kristen's example is just kind of hits home with that. And then there was another article that I thought was fascinating by the Pew Research Center as well, where they talked about the last 30 years that when women are entering the workforce, they're actually starting at a higher position, making a little bit more money than men. And I kind of wonder, just thinking back, living in Ohio, the big auto industry, is in Michigan and is also in Ohio, so a lot of factory type work. So a lot of the laborers back then were men, heavy lifting and just grunt work basically, while the women were doing accounting work and that type of upfront office type work. And so I kind of wonder if that's why women were making more at that time. And now, things have changed a little bit. I think men are starting to I think a lot of the factory work has kind of gone away, and but unfortunately, there's still many places, many businesses where there's inequality among the men and women. So going back to a thought I had whenever I was reading this assignment was, how can we fix this and this issue of inequality? And honestly, I don't think there's a fix for this. Unfortunately, I think it's just too big, and I feel like it's isolated. I don't feel, again, as I mentioned, that every office, every company in America is treating women not as equal as men. And I believe the good companies, the smart companies out there, recognize all their talent, men or women. It just shouldn't matter. That's the way I look at it. It should not matter. But when I thought about this assignment a lot, it's just one of those things where I hope maybe as time goes by, education will get better here in the States. The Good Guys Club, the old boys, the good old boys and all that will retire and go away, and there'll be more fostering of equality across the board for everybody in the country. So thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Enjoy the video. I hope you enjoyed the video. So take care.